Hello, my name is Sheridan, and I am a foster care survivor. I am somebody who beat the odds, who survived through state care system. I was in foster care from about 4 or 5 years old until pretty much I was 16, until I was emancipated by the court. I was never adopted until late in my life, until 21 years old. And I have lived with about over 10 families, I think about 12 families in total. And I'm here to share my experience with you so that you can have a better understanding of what it's like with somebody living with the trauma and the aftermath of what it was like to not have a family and to go through the foster care system in its present state. Also let you know about the Miracle Foundation, which I am currently supporting, in the fact that they want to bring every child home and want to help transform and elevate the foster care system, particularly in the States, where many foster children experience abuse and trauma and skip from home to home, and where the incentives really are around monetization and monetizing childcare, which leads to a lot of abuse and neglect. And so I'm here to share my story. I'm one of the few people who beat the odds. And by beating the odds, I mean that the statistics around foster care, or people who have lost a parent or both parents, usually is that it's about 80%, 70, I think, to 80% of these individuals end up incarcerated or impoverished or addicted to drugs, or they go insane. The first most visceral thing that you feel is when you are ripped away from your parent. And no matter how neglectful your parent is, my mother was a drug addict, and she also suffered from domestic abuse. And she also was in prison. So I actually went in and out of foster care many times. My biological mother was never able to keep me for more than about, 6 months at a time. So I remember coming home for Christmas sometimes, and then going back into social care and ending up in another foster care family. When I was placed back with my mother, they always had a social care worker stick with you for quite some time to see how the transition was going, particularly as you're transitioning from one home to another. There's always a social care person assigned to you. I remember mine very well, because social workers are the backbone of making sure children get through this traumatic system. And social workers are basically like a Band-Aid on a heart attack, but it's a very necessary Band-Aid. I remember feeling very obviously you're sad the moment you're ripped away from your mother or parent, but I also remember feeling very much like the pressure of, who are all these children? Who is this random adult person who's with me? And I just remember it being very cold, and like you definitely feel like you're a number. And then you're in that holding pattern for a while, and until somebody takes you on as a foster child. And the way the foster care system is set up is for temporary care, basically. So you go to a home, and that's how that works. I think one of the things I would like to express to people who may not know about the foster care system is that it's incentivized by money, and people get paid a certain stipend per child they take in. And I'm not currently sure how much that is today, but it is a reason that people do take children into their home. And it is one of the things that needs to shift about foster care. I think that definitely paying for the extra food and responsibility is one thing, but the problem is that the trauma and the abuse that comes up from that, of course, are that people, for example, one of my most horrific, foster experiences was I was put in a room with several other children who were also foster care children, and we were fed, but we were locked in the room. So I was locked in a room with, I think, about 3 or 4 other children for several months, and I was not allowed to leave and was imprisoned, basically. The social workers come over to check. Of course, as a child, you are, would like to tell your social worker that things are wrong, but oftentimes the the fear of like survival kicks in so much as a child. So you don't have
Right.
any you can tell, you don't have anyone you can feel safe with to let them know that something's wrong. And so traumatic, I would say, just a sense of feeling lost, I think, in the beginning, and also a sense of um, neglect because, people really care about the paycheck and they don't necessarily care about caring for the child or any type of spending time with you, or here are the other children you're staying with, or any kind of integration. And so I would say that definitely, even though I'm in my adulthood, I still go to therapy. I'm still dealing with the trauma from my past,
Right.
the ideas of belonging, the ideas of who I am. I think one of the biggest things too is like the idea that when you're going from home to home as a child, and the hard part about the foster care system is that you constantly feel the need to survive by supplying some kind of worth. So you don't feel like you're actually worth anything unless you are like, I have to do the dishes, or I've got to make my bed, or like any moment you're really afraid that someone's going to throw you out of the house, or that you're going to have to change a family, or that like there's just no room for upsetting your parents or being a bad kid. Because if you are a bad child, then you are like then seen as tainted goods, and no one will want you, right? And so you stay longer in the state care system, and you're not in a home. No child should be in an orphanage. It will take a collaborative effort among the community to figure out how every child can have a home. Um, Look, being a parent is very difficult, as you know. Uh, Being a parent, all of the responsibility goes down on two people or one person, and I think that there needs to be a real community effort um, of being able to assess who can take care of children, like a shared responsibility among people who have parenting skills or who have children, to, I don't know, just share the responsibility. I don't think any parent should have to have one child responsibility. I really feel like back in the tribe times and like our tribal situations, that when everyone shares the responsibility of taking care of a child, like it takes a village to raise a child, that old saying really rings true to me. And that's the one thing I wish I would have seen more of, like that just the community would have stepped in more. Because when the community doesn't step in, what happens is you're behind closed doors in one house, and that house becomes a prison, rather than a home. And house can become a place of abuse where only the social worker has access to, and nobody asks the child really what they need, because no one really thinks the child knows what they need. And that's the one thing the Miracle Foundation is doing differently. They're actually putting the child in power and giving children the rights to speak up about what they need in order to feel safe and comfortable. And I really do believe that was something that was lacking in my experience, was that nobody asked me uh, really what I needed or wanted in foster care, because it's a numbers game. I mean, I was one of, the foster care system is overwhelmed. And that's going back to this idea of community, right? The Miracle Foundation has really done well, as they have a Thrive app, which helps you understand how to talk to children, how to assess the needs, what is the household, able to support this child. Um, I think for a long time, we were just really in the mindset that children just needed to have a home, and it stopped there. So I think further investigation of what constitutes healthy children rearing, of healthy upbringing of children, and also teaching the parents and equipping the parents with the skills necessary. Because I mean, if you think about being paid $1,200 a month per child or something, right? Um, I have no incentive other than getting a paycheck to take this child on. I may not know how to feed them. I may not know how to nurture them emotionally. I may not know how to ask people in my community, like my own family or my own neighbors, if they can help me in this way, or even the social care system. I don't even know the questions to ask about how to take care of this child. All I care about is the paycheck that's coming, and that the child is fed and has a house, and these basic needs are met. But the emotional needs aren't met, and the mental needs aren't met. And I think that's really where like if we go back to the failing system is the system that is not providing the care that is required for a child. And I know that when parents have a child, you go through a lot of research. I mean, you have elders, usually grandparents, parents, people who step up and tell you, "Oh, this is what I did as a parent." My goal in sharing a lot of these hard stories with you are not to break your hearts or to drudge up trauma, but to create transformation in a system that is broken and is not working and is systemic and continues to be funded and staffed, even though many children are still being abused. So my goal here is to find out with you solutions and figure out how to contribute to, a system in which that works. Also to figure out if we even have the will to take care of other people's children. But this is one thing that I think that needs to change within the community, is that all children are our children. I really wish growing up that more people in the community didn't just see me as an abused child or as a, broken child, but as people saw me as their child and would have stepped up more. And actually, the reason why I did survive was I grew up in a very Mormon based community in Utah, and many Mormons who I did live with did, in fact, step up and take over and bring me into their family. And thank goodness for that, because the community aspect of the Mormon church was so present in Utah. And that is really the only reason why I survived. Family first is a thing that you'll hear a lot. And I think that having the will and the consciousness to take care of every child is something that we need to work on. I'm not sure if it's about PSA or this talking about it will help, but how do we raise the will to take care of other people's children? Every child is our child in our community. Every child deserves to have our love and support from every person who's able, willing, and capable and ready to take a hand of a child and take care of them. And it's so important that we get involved. Everyone in the community figures out a way, where are the children and how do we help? One of the major reasons why anyone should invest in the Miracle Foundation is because it provides the community in which these things can happen. And it provides the community in which children can feel safe and thrive and know that people have the will to take care of their well-being. And this is I think, the most precious gift the Miracle Foundation gives to the world right now and to the community, is that by providing community. The sense of belonging that the Miracle Foundation is working on with their Thrive app, with the work they do every day, day in and day out, is about finding a home for a child where they belong. And so I really want to stress that what you're investing in with the Miracle Foundation is a sense of belonging, community, and data-driven science around how, to prepare parents to take care of these children, what to look out for with the child. I will still stress that the social workers are some of the most angelic people. And I just want to give a huge shout out to every social worker out there. I grew up with social workers. They made all the difference. Some of them work overtime. I remember one social worker in my life, she would take time off just to take me to Burger King. And a lot of times pick me up after school. And she was like my shelter and my refuge. And I just want to give it up for every social worker out there, because I can see you. I know what's going on. I know the hours you put in. I know the after hours you put in. I know probably the trauma and the tremendous amount of weight that you go home with and take home, and wish you could change things. And you are trying to change things. And I just want to say thank you so much for the time you spent, because that's how I beat the odds, was because of human beings who took up the mantle of social care. And I'm just so grateful for you, and want to just give a huge shout out to all of the social workers out there who are working so tirelessly to make sure every child beats those odds and finds a way through. I think the biggest thing you could do right now is support a social worker, and the Miracle Foundation is supporting social workers. But these people in our community are diamonds. They're rarer than, gems. They are richer than gold. They are literally taking up many children, sometimes hundreds of cases, and they're like a parent with 100 children. So it's so important that we lend our financing, our investment, our energy, our time, our awareness to these people who actually don't get paid very much. They don't get any awards. Nobody is clapping for them at the end of the day and making them a celebrity, but they are indeed raising the children that are getting left behind and marginalized. And we need to invest our our time and energy around supporting social workers a lot more. That's one huge thing that we could do and that the Miracle Foundation is doing. What I love about the Miracle Foundation is that they put the child first. So they're bridging the gap by actually putting the child central to the issue of what does the child think they need, putting the child in the seat of power. The Miracle Foundation is bridging that gap by getting people out of the foster care system, by getting people out of orphanages, the central core tenet of how we have healthy communities. And think about it. I mean, if we raise children, another big gap they're solving is if we raise proper children, crime rates go down, right? All kinds of things happen. Joblessness goes down. Like our jails are not full. People use less drugs, less coping mechanisms. I mean, there are so many things that lead to getting a child on the right path that help our entire society and surroundings are more stable, are more safe for your children. Your children will be more safe. So that's a big bridge that's being gapped right there too, is that they're really working on, hey, creating safer society starts with giving a child a home. When you get kids home and you provide them safety and stability, you're investing in a stable and safe society, and you're creating, and you're fostering, to use that word from foster care, you're fostering a society that is much more functional and capable and healthy and whole